In this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, we visit President Biden's speech that he gave to the Everytown bunch of gun grabbers. That happened today, which is the 6th of June. Anyway, we watched the video together, we fact check it together, and then you get to hear me monologue because that's what you come here for. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this episode of the Range Minded Podcast. Episode 245. Wow, we are crushing it. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this episode of the Range Minded Podcast. Good luck. All right, welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. As usual, it's me, Steve, host of the Range Minded Podcast. And this is going to be kind of a different video, but probably not really. And you know what I just realized as I was setting up for this recording? My lighting is different probably every episode. So if not for that, at least that gives you something to get excited for. Struggling speaking, apparently. As par for the course. But anyway, I've noticed that sometimes I have this nice soft light. Sometimes my blue light's not turned on in the back. It is what it is. Sometimes it's brighter. Sometimes it's not. What do you do? Well, I just ignore it. You can do whatever you like and hopefully just enjoy this episode of the podcast. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. So, President Biden gave the Everytown for gun safety speech today. There was some kind of a convention or whatever for the gun grabbers. Anyway, which was interesting because today was also the same day. As I'm recording this is the 11th of June. Yeah, looking down there, I had to double check because it's the 11th of June. My goodness, where is this year going? Which the 11th happens to be the same day that Hunter Biden received his guilty verdict from his court case. Now, we're not going to get into the Hunter Biden thing. Some hate it, some like it, some feel like he deserves everything he gets. Others feel that if you're pro-gun, then you need to be pro-gun 100% and disagree with the verdict. Whatever, I'm not going to get into that. You can think any way you like about Hunter Biden. I personally think he's a piece of garbage. He's kind of a deplorable human being, and not in the Hillary sense. But be that as it may, it is what it is. Like I said, we're not going to get into it. But what I am getting into is I want you to watch this speech with me. I found some interesting things. I actually listened to this live as it was presented during my lunch break. So this is not new. Of course, now sitting down here with you watching this tonight, maybe I'll see some things or hear some things that I didn't notice the first time through. And we'll talk about these things together, and we'll see where this speech goes. Now, I'm actually going to air this in the entirety. And it starts with, I don't know who this young lady is, but she's obviously with Moms Demand Action, according to her shirt. Hopefully that's working out well for her. I don't know. I better not. Be that as it may. All right, let's jump to this. And we'll go play by play. We'll probably pause and play and pause and listen to the bumbling idiot in the White House. So here we go. Hope you enjoy.
I often called him Bud because he was my rosebud. A rosebud signifies beauty and purity.
Oh, let's see. That's pretty quiet.
But on April the 7th,
let me pause that real quick. I want to make sure you guys hear everything possible here. Maybe I need to check it on here. That's all. Oh, there it goes. All right.
1 month after his birthday,
that's still really quiet.
My beautiful bud, Juwan, was shot and killed by another teen playing with an unsecured firearm. I never imagined when I spoke with my child on the phone just hours before, it would be the last time that I would hear my baby's voice. As adults,
I got that cranked all the way up.
We're responsible for keeping our children safe. And that's why I am here today. No parent should ever have to get the phone call that their child has been shot and killed. No young person should ever have to grow in fear of being shot and killed. None of us deserve to live like this. But today, I feel hopeful. It means everything to me to know that I have a president who understands the importance of preventing what happened to me from happening to others.
You guys remember that my child's school was shot up.
His leadership on gun safety honors Jawan and the countless people who have been taken by senseless gun violence in this country. We last shared a stage together at an Everytown forum in 2019, and I can say today, standing here right now, he stood true to his word on the urgency of creating a safer future for families like mine and yours. And all across the country. And his lifelong dedication to a safer America means that together we are working to protect our families and communities from preventable pain and tragedy. I am proud to stand with him, and it's now my greatest honor to introduce him. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Just realized I was wearing the wrong color shirt for this. Good sniff. I can barely walk.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, have a seat.
Please, shut up.
Giovanni,
Sit down. Come on, man.
I know from experience it takes extraordinary courage for you to stand up here and retell your son's story. Many of you who have lost someone to gun violence. It's been a passion of mine for a long, long time. It's a reason way back, a long time ago, I authored the Violence Against Women Act, which no one thought made any sense at the time. I had a lot of trouble getting people to think we could make a difference. But the fact of the matter is, I remember well when you first started it with me, this extraordinary courage. You know, through your words, you help ensure that your son and all the victims of gun violence are not forgotten. They didn't die in vain. Through your love, you help prevent the next tragedy that saves
Countless urban gang
your
violence.
actions.
He's talking about all those young men.
Never let go of one thing that we must never, never lose. And I mean this. I know it's hard. I've gotten those phone calls too saying I lost a son, a daughter, a wife. I know what it's like. But guess what? Never give up on hope, 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 hope. I give you my word, I know what that feels, that black hole when you receive that phone call. It seems like your black hole in your chest, you're being sucked into it. Just showing up here, all the work you've done, take some courage because it reminds you of the moment you got that phone call. It reminds you, no matter how long it goes. It's hard.
Now again, I know that black hole feeling that he's talking about. I didn't lose a child in a school shooting, but my child's school had a shooting. It was one of the roughest days of my life. We've talked about it multiple times, and I've shared my feelings about about my discomfort and frustration of that day. How dare these people use these tragedies to withdraw the freedoms from you and me? How dare they? You should ought to be ashamed of yourselves, Mr. President and the rest of these people.
But you're making such a difference. The main reason I'm here is to say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. No.
Okay, hold on. What was said there?
Folks, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. But you're making such a difference. The main reason I'm here is to say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart.
He said something about genocide, but I couldn't tell.
No, 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 no. No, no, no. Folks, folks, it's okay. Look, they care. Innocent children have been lost. They make a point. Come on now.
Part of the speech.
Thank you for honoring gun violence survivors.
Folks, to Everytown and all the leaders and advocates here today, I want to thank you for the dedication to this vital issue you've shown. And to all the survivors, veterans, families, moms who've turned their pain and your purpose into the loss and you're determined to not focus on your anger, but on what you can do. Look, folks, you've helped power a movement that is turning this cause into reality, especially young people who demanded our nation do better to protect us all, who protested, who organized, who voted, who ran for office, and yes,
Who
who
danced on the
marched for
graves
their
of their
lives.
classmates.
From my perspective, today is about celebrating you. You're the reason I'm so optimistic about the future of our country, and I mean that. In 2 weeks, we'll mark the 2nd anniversary of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. It's the most significant gun legislation in nearly 30 years. We passed it only because you went out and worked like hell to get it done. May have the idea, but you got it made. You made it happen. It was designed to reduce gun violence and save lives, and I'm so proud of the tremendous progress we made since then.
But urban
The
violence
year
has
before I
gone up.
came to the presidency, the murder rate was the highest increase on record. Last year, we saw the largest decrease of murder in history of murder.
Pause there for just a second. They keep bringing this up, that the murder rate, the violence rate has gone down, and it's going down like crazy. That may be. I need to dig into those numbers so that we're getting fair statistics. I want to know exactly where those numbers are coming from, and I'll dig them up for you. Excuse me. But because, correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation, but gun ownership is the highest it's ever been. You realize in the last, I think it was just this year, I'll have to look again, that there's been more firearms purchased than like people have moved to Florida. Does that make sense? Like, firearms ownership is skyrocketing. Of course, they're not going to tell you this, that maybe a peaceably assembled person or body of people that civilly carry gun, responsibly carry firearms, maybe that has something to do with it. The demographic that's buying the most firearms are like 21 to 28-year-olds, like the young bracket right now. The people that are tired of seeing the violence in their neighborhood, the people that are wanting to run for office to boot out jackbooted thugs like this guy. Firearms ownership is at the highest it's ever been. Yet violence is at the lowest it's ever been. Weird. Where are we seeing the most violence? Not necessarily in, Republican-run states. Well, that might be a Republican governor, but it's not a Republican mayor in those cities. Don't buy the statistics. Let's listen to more of this.
And those rates are continuing to fall faster than ever. Last year, we also saw one of the lowest rates of all violent crime in nearly 50 years. Murder, rape, aggravated assault, robbery, all dropped sharply.
That's weird, because the
Along
news
with
doesn't
burglary and
reflect that,
property
right?
crime. Because this matters. So much of this progress is because, and I'm not just trying to be solicitous, it's because of you. Don't underestimate what you've done. It's amazing what you've done. You change people's minds, your neighbors, your friends, folks down at the restaurant, the folks at the grocery store.
Sorry. You guys
Through the
that are
American
listening have no
Rescue
idea what I'm
Plan,
doing. Making
I was
fun of
able
him.
to invest
Sorry.
$15 billion, the largest investment ever to reduce crime. And we build on that progress with your help. Through the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And here's how. First, the Act's helping reduce community violence and domestic violence. It invests $250 million in violence intervention programs all across the country.
Increase the
People now.
bureaucracy.
My daughter's a social worker working with violence against women. What people don't realize is these things matter. They change attitudes. We've already funded nearly 80 programs and counting. We also make gun trafficking and straw purchasing a federal crime for the first time, giving prosecutors a legal.
Side note, I know, I keep pausing. Straw purchasing and illegal gun trafficking have always been illegal. At least since the Nix check was created, right? So at least since the 90s. Trafficking guns has been illegal since as long as I can remember anyways. Again, he's lying. He makes it sound as if before the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, it was willy-nilly, everybody could do whatever they wanted, other than those Democrats who tried buying a gun during the summer of peace and realized that they just couldn't go into a gun shop and buy what they wanted. They just couldn't go online and buy a gun off GunBroker and have it delivered to their house. He's lying. Many of you already know that. Let's carry on.
Tools to charge traffickers and hold them accountable for the more severe penalties that are available.
Those penalties have been in existence before the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act as well.
The law strengthens background checks for anyone under the age of 21 trying to purchase a firearm. And it's about time. There's more we have to do there. It's a big deal.
Big deal.
Since the law was passed and implemented, the FBI stopped more than 700 sales of firearms for individuals under the age of 21. And about 20,000 unlicensed firearms dealers are now required to become licensed to run background checks.
That means private citizens, by the way.
Which will keep guns out of dangerous hands.
20,000 private citizens.
The act helps stop mass shootings, provides $750 million to states to implement the crisis interventions, like red flag laws that temporarily remove firearms from those who are endangered themselves or others.
Legal search and seizures.
It also gives $1.3 billion to thousands of schools across the country to build safer learning environments, including updating safety plans, installing security equipment,
named Jason
hiring mental health professionals and school resource officers.
We got thousands of veterans that could do that.
I'm married to a full-time teacher. I get it. As well as violent intervention teams. Folks, look. Third, the act invests over $1 billion, the largest one-time investment ever in youth mental health in our schools.
I hope so. Because mental health is the biggest issue.
Help them deal with grief and trauma resulting in gun violence. I've attended too many mass shootings. I've gone to too many schools across America.
It needs to be
pre-violent. Stood there and
violent.
looked at the faces of those young children who made it, and look at all the families that lost somebody. It's tragic, but it needs help. They need help to get through it. It includes an additional 14,000 health professionals to be hired and trained in our schools, to work in our schools full time.
That should be done pre-incident. By the way, locking kids in their house for almost 2 years, telling them the world's going to end and their parents don't know anything. My goodness, don't know anything. You think that could cause a problem? You think feeding these children full of fear that the world is going to end and nobody's going to do anything about it, do you think that might be causing some harm? Do you think pumping them full of fake influencers from online whatever apps, you think that has some problems to do with creating anxiety? Nah, apparently not. It's the gun. It's the gun that causes the problem, right?
And over 170,000 Americans across the country have been trained to identify when someone is having a mental health crisis, connect them to the help they need. By the way, one of the reasons I wrote the latest veterans bill was because more veterans and more active duty personnel are dying of suicide than any combat zone.
And they're going to tell you that that suicide is due to a gun, not by use or whatever. They're telling you that the gun is causing these suicides. The gun is an inanimate object. Yeah, people choose the firearm because of the finality of it. If there wasn't a gun, they would poison themselves with alcohol or drugs. I have seen that. They're going to swerve into traffic. They're going to find other ways to end their life. The gun does not cause suicide. Don't ever believe that. It is an object. It is an avenue to create the end of their despair. That's it. It doesn't create the despair itself.
It matters. And folks, this historic law is already saving lives, but there's still so much more to do to maximize the benefits of the bipartisan safety.
We need to take more freedoms away.
That's why last September, I established the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention.
What other right has a specific office to influence?
I made it.
Get ready, drop the confetti.
We got first-rate professionals there and overseen by my incredible vice president.
Okay, hold on. So he's talking about Kamala Harris being the gun czar, the gun violence prevention, whatever, office or whatever, right? Isn't she in charge of the border? How's that working out? You think she'll have any way to fight gun violence? She can't even go to the border and close the damn door. It's going to be a shit show like everything else.
He was a pretty fierce prosecutor as well. To drive and coordinate government and a nationwide effort to reduce gun violence in America, that's why we did it, and to send a clear message about how important this issue is to me, to you, and to the entire country. Folks, you're changing the nation. You really are. You're changing the nation.
Somebody needs to check on the sign language lady.
Executive actions my
She doesn't look very
administration has
happy.
taken to reduce gun violence, more than any of my predecessors, and I suspect more than all of them combined. Everything from cracking down on ghost guns, gun trafficking, so much more. Folks, we're not stopping there. It's time once again to do what I did when I was a senator. Ban assault weapons.
They can't even define it.
I mean it.
I'm curious to see how full that room actually is.
Thank you.
Dozens and dozens of
Who
women.
in God's name needs a magazine which can hold 200 shells? Nobody, that's right. I remember when I was campaigning when I was a
200
senator,
shells.
going through
He must hate the
through
beach, by the way.
wetlands of Delaware
All those
and
shells.
Read all the people who were most upset with
good
me,
Lord.
the fishermen and the hunters. And I came across a guy who was fishing, and he said, "You want to take my gun?" And I looked at him, I said, "Yeah, I don't want to take your gun. You're allowed to have a gun, but I want to take away your ability to use an assault weapon." And it, well, no, this is how the conversation went. He said, "What do you mean I need that gun?" I said, "Guess what? If you need 12 to 100 bullets in a gun and a magazine, you're the lousiest shot I've ever heard."
How much you want to bet that interaction never took place? I'd love to talk to that guy. I bet he doesn't exist.
And to his credit, he looked at me and said, "You have a good point." But think
That
about
never
it.
happened.
They're weapons of war.
No, they're not.
And by the way, it's time we establish universal background checks.
So he's pandering to this group of angry white
By the
women.
way, and require the
Using-
safe storage of firearms. We should
and
hold.
using these buzzwords.
We should hold families
These women don't
responsible
even
if
know
they
what he's
don't
talking about half this
provide
stuff.
those locks on those guns. If in fact, because
By the way, NSSF
3 of these major
provides
crime
locks for
scenes
guns
I
for free,
visited
actually.
were ones where the mother or father left the stuff out on the desk, left it out on the table.
Spit it out, Joe.
And the kid came and used it. And by the way, this is most important. The only industry in America that has immunity are gun dealers. We got to end it.
What
End it now.
about pharmaceutical
No, I mean
companies,
it.
Joe? What about the medical community, Joe? What about the federal government, Joe? That's absolutely outrageous.
Imagine if we gave tobacco and an exception, they could not be prosecuted.
Tobacco is not a
What
protected
would
right,
happen?
Joe.
We'd still, 1,000 more people be dying of cancer because of smoke inhalation. It's time to increase funding for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives and other law enforcement agencies as well.
What's he calling it? Ready?
Solve the crimes faster. Look, unfortunately, it's the only partisan thing I'm going to say. The congressional Republicans oppose all of these, every one of these. Instead of trying to stop our ban on ghost gun kits that contain these, that can commit crimes, they're working like hell to stop it. They want to abolish the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, which is responsible for fighting gun crime.
Yeah, we do.
You can't be
local
pro
law
law
enforcement can do it.
enforcement and say you are pro law enforcement and be pro abolishing the AFT.
The AFT?
It's outrageous.
Alcohol, firearms, and tobacco?
I disagree with some of my own party and on the other
flatulent
side
tradesman?
about a lot of things, but at least there's some rational argument they have as part of their argument. What in God's name is the rationale for taking away the alcohol, tobacco,
Freedom,
and
Joe.
firearms?
Freedom.
After
Freedom
a
is
school
the
shooting in
rationale, Joe.
Iowa that killed a student and a teacher, my predecessor was asked about it. You remember what he said?
I'll dig into this too, because I remember
He said,
this
have
part.
to get over it. Hell no, we don't have to get over it.
I don't think that interaction quite happened that way
We gotta
either.
stop it
I'll
and
look
stop
into
it
that one.
now.
Did you wonder what Trump may have said during that particular speech from the President Biden just mentioned when he told people to get over it? Oh, well, you look at this. It's the section of Trump's speech when he told people to suck it up and get over it. Let's listen to see what he really said.
Whatever you have to bring. Before going further, I want to send our support and our deepest sympathies to the victims and families touched by the terrible school shooting yesterday in Perry, Iowa. To the entire community, we love you, we pray for you, and we ask God to heal and comfort really the whole state and the pain that you have. This is something that's very unique to your state. We're really with you as much as anybody can be. It's a very terrible thing that happened, and it's just horrible to see that happening. That's just horrible. So surprising to see it here. But we have to get over it. We have to move forward. We have to move forward. But to the relatives and to all of the people that are so devastated right now, to a point they can't breathe, they can't live, we are with you all the way.
Thanks, Forbes, for popping that video up for me. It came up quick when I searched for it. That's funny. He didn't say, just get over it. Just get over it. He said, we're praying for you. We're with you. It's a tragedy. We need to get past this. We need to get over it. That's what he's saying. Out of context much, Joe? Out of context much? Yeah, I think so.
More children are killed in America by guns than cancer and car accidents combined.
Nope. That's a
My
complete and utter
predecessor.
lie. All right, so the president says that the leading cause of death from kids, 0 to 19, is guns. Is it really guns? Check this out. So this took me hours to find, my friends, hours to find. It was an absolute nightmare. It used to be so easy to jump on the CDC's website, you throw in some criteria, and you'd get all sorts of stuff. It's almost like they're trying to bury these statistics. All right, so how this graph works is this is the age group across the top. I know you can't see my mouse for some reason. Okay. So anyway, there's the age group across the top. Let me shrink this down a little bit so you guys can see this a little better. Let me move my face out of the way. Maybe that'll help. Okay. So there's the age group across the top. You see less than 1 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and so on. Okay. If you look across, and then cascading down 1 to 10, these are the leading causes of death per age group. So up to 1 year old is congenital anomalies. Boy, that's easy to say. Okay, so that means the number one cause of death for infants is congenital anomalies. So I don't know what that might be. There's things that are just kind of unforeseen, right? The next one is unintentional injuries, accidents. So that's from 1 to 4. 5 to 9, accidents. 10 to 14, accidents. Oh, sorry, I should say unintentional injury, which I would translate that to an accident. 15 to 24, number one cause, accidents. All the way up to 35 to 44, accidents are the leading cause of death, not firearms. He said that firearms take more lives than accidents and cancer combined, I believe is what he said. But let's look here. Let's say 15 to 24 age group. That's kind of the biggest one he's talking about, the closest to what he's talking about. That's 14,669. So homicide, I would say, now that's all homicides combined, not gun violence. That's all homicides. Even if he counts suicide on there, which is the third in that 15 to 24 age group. The third is suicide at 6,040. So what is that? That's 13,002, right? Something like that. If my math is right, it's probably not. So even if you add those two, it's still less than the accidents, right? At 14,669. But again, he said guns take more lives than cancer and accidents combined. But according to this, no, there's no way. Now, this is the most current stuff I could find. It was kind of a bugger to get this. Like I said, it was a nightmare. Anyway, I'll link this this graph in the show notes. You guys can look at it yourself. It's kind of a fun interactive map. It's not really that interactive, but it gives you an idea of what it is. Okay. Actually, let's jump on that. The circle of death. Oh, look at that. So this will actually tell you. It breaks it down. Firearms accidents 0.8%. Oh, look at that. This is kind of a. Oh, you bless your heart. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to find that again. Look at that sneaky little data. Oh, it's this one right here. All right. Well. That is pretty neat, folks. So, basically what I'm telling you is the gun grabbers are lying to you. Okay? That's basically what I'm telling you.
The NRA convention recently. He's proud that, quote, I did nothing on guns when I was president.
We covered that. He said president did nothing. Former President Trump did nothing to stop gun violence or to take away guns or whatever. Whatever he said. Let's just see. Shall we see?
Standing before you at the NRA Leadership Forum in 2019, I revoked America's signature from the globalist United Nations Armed Trade Treaty, which was one of the worst things to happen. But we revoked it. I stood up for our hunters, fishers, and sportsmen like never before. No president has ever stood up for you, the people in this room, like I did, opening up millions of acres of federal land and rolling back Barack Hussein Obama's assault on hunting, fishing, and trapping. It was an assault. He didn't want you to hunt. Why? I don't know. They usually blame the environment. It's the environment. And I stopped cold their efforts to take away your ammunition. You know, those efforts are big. The ammunition, has anyone noticed? They're going after the ammunition. When the radical left Democrats tried to use COVID to shut down gun sales during the China virus, I proudly designated gun and ammunition retailers as critical infrastructure so they couldn't touch it. They tried. Many of the gun dealers are in this room. They came up to me backstage. A couple of them I met. I said, I was so honored to be called critical. I was critical. He was critical. I've never been called critical in my life. You gave me this powerful designation. But we did that, and it really worked. Word critical was very important because that's what it is. We have to save our country. My administration also petitioned the Supreme Court to overturn New York City's unconstitutional ban on transporting handguns outside the home. They say you can't do it, and we overturned it. And in a landmark case 2 years ago, the court affirmed that the right to self-defense does not end when you step outside the front door of your house. We won it. In my second term, we will roll back every Biden attack on the Second Amendment. The attacks are fast and furious, starting the minute that Crooked Joe shuffles his way out of the White House. At noon on Inauguration Day, we will sack the anti-gun fanatic Steve Dettelbach. Have you ever heard of him? He's a disaster. And replace him with an ATF director who respects the sacred rights to keep and bear arms. And remember, every single thing I told you, I did. That's one of the big things, is that when I first ran, we ran, and when I first ran...
All right, he goes on for a little bit. There, you can go listen to the speech. We did it live when it happened live, but there's a little bit of inaccuracy there, President Biden. I know it's probably early. Well, let's see. This took place. The speech was about noon my time. So I'm Central, whatever. No, I don't even know what time zone it is. I'm Mountain. I'm Mountain something. Whatever. I don't know what time it was. Obviously, I'm good enough to be president with the mental state that I have. So if he can do it, I can do it, right? Anyway, it sounds like Trump did a lot more than nothing, Mr. Biden. I think you're misguided, sir.
Doing nothing, he made the situation considerably worse. That's why Everytown, why this summit, why all of you here today are so damn important. We need you. We need you to overcome the unrelenting opposition of the gun lobby, gun manufacturers, so many politicians.
He's awake.
They oppose common sense gun legislation. I used to be when I was no longer the vice president, I became a professor at the University of Pennsylvania.
You sure about that?
Before that, I taught a constitutional law class.
One of the other things that President Biden said in this Everytown speech was that he was, in his words, I was after vice president. I was a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. So was he a professor at UP? Mostly heavy on the P side. Snopes jumps in on this to fact check this, because obviously he's mentioned this before. So Snopes says it's kind of true. He was a president, he was a professor at UP for 4 years. Full professor. But what does that actually mean? From 17 to 21, the then former president was a Benjamin Franklin Presidential Practice Professor at UP. During his time there, he collected more than $900,000. So he was a fundraiser for what he was. But what he really did is he gave some talks. He gave some lectures. He didn't teach. Look at that. He did not teach a full semester or course load. So was he at UP? Yeah, he was. He was a fundraiser. He spoke for money. Almost like the oldest profession. So it's kind of true, I guess. Careful what you believe, folks. Careful what you believe.
Second Amendment. There's never
We're
been
gonna
a
fact
time
check that one.
that says you can own anything you want. Never. You couldn't own a cannon during the Civil War.
That's absolutely blatantly
No, I'm
wrong.
serious. Think about it. How many times have you heard this phrase? The blood of liberty. Wash of those. Give me a break.
You can't even finish it.
No, I mean it. Seriously.
Grandpa Joe Biden mentioned that you weren't allowed to have a cannon. For heaven's sakes. Nobody had a cannon back in those days. Come on, man. Oh, well, are you sure about that, President Biden? I mean, this is from PolitiFact. There's a whole article about it, but I'll just read it. Our ruling, Biden said you weren't allowed to own a cannon during the Revolutionary War as an individual. That I know this speech he gave was today, the 11th. But Biden has recycled this trope, and honestly, I think it's almost this entire speech. From what I could find, at least 3 times, if not more. He said the same thing over and over again. He just uses these talking points, but I digress. Anyways, on PolitiFact itself, it says, Our ruling. Biden said you weren't allowed to own a cannon during the Revolutionary War as an individual. The campaign was unable to come up with an example of law. Okay, let me try that again. The campaign was unable to come up with an example of a law banning private ownership of cannons, and historians of the period doubt that they existed. To the contrary, there were documented incidences of privateers or privately owned vessels setting sail with cannons during this period. Oops. Oopsies. Fake news. Sorry, Joe Biden. Fake news strikes again. Sorry, Joe. Check your facts, boys and girls. Check your facts. And then old Bumbling Joe kind of misses the mark on the Tree of Liberty quote, where he says something like that. That's as close as I'm going to get. Actually, that comes from it's a Thomas Jefferson quote, right? Most of us should know what the Tree of Liberty quote is. The Tree of Liberty should be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants from time to time. In fact, it's natural manure. I think that's how it goes. But it comes from a letter from Thomas Jefferson to a man named William Smith in 1787. Yep, so that's what I just pulled up. I remembered that number. I'm going to read this entire letter the best that I can because, first of all, it's Thomas Jefferson. I mean, a huge part of American history and knowledge and kind of, he was a founding father. So he's kind of important. Anyways, I'm going to do my best to read this in my handsome voice. To William Stephen Smith. Dear Sir, I am now to acknowledge the receipt of your favors of October the 4th, 8th, and 26th. In the last, you apologized for your letters of introduction to Americans coming here. He's in Paris, by the way. Thomas Jefferson's in Paris, writing back to Mr. Smith in the Americas. It is so far from needing an apology on your part, but it calls for thanks on mine. I endeavor to show civilities to all the Americans who come here, and who will give me opportunities of doing it. And it is this manner of comfort. Oh, let me jump. You should probably see this, right? That's my bad. Let's do this. And it is a matter of comfort to know from a good quarter what they are, and how far I may go into my attentions to them. Can you send me Woodman's bills for the 2 copying presses for M. de la Fayette, Mr. Fayette, and M. de Chastellux? I can't read French. Chastellux, yeah. Anyway, the letter makes one article in the considerable account of old standing, and which I cannot present for want of this article. I do not know whether it is of yourself or of Mr. Adams I am to give my thanks for the copy of the new Constitution. I beg leave through you to place them where due. It will be yet 3 weeks before I shall receive them from America. There are very good articles in it, and very bad. I do not know which preponderate. What we have lately read in the history of Holland, in the chapter of the standholder, would have sufficeth to me to against chief magistrate eligible for a long duration, if I had ever been disposed towards one. And what we have always read of the elections of the Polish kings should have forever excluded the idea of one continuable for life. Let's scroll down. Wonderful is the effect of impudent and persevering lying. The British ministry have long so hired their gazetteers to repeat a model into every form lies about our being an anarchy, that the world has at length believed them. The English nation has believed them. The ministers themselves have come to believe them. And what is more wonderful, we believe them ourselves. Yet where does this anarchy exist? Where did it ever exist except in the single instance of Massachusetts? And can history produce an instance of a rebellion so honorably conducted? I say nothing of its motives. They were founded in ignorance, not wickedness. God forbid we should ever be 20 years without such rebellion. The people cannot be all and always well informed. The part which is wrong is to be discontinued in the proportion to the importance of the facts they misconceive. If they remain quiet under such misconceptions, it is lethargy, the forerunner of death to the public liberty. We have had 13 states independent, 11 years. There has been one rebellion. That comes to one rebellion in a century and a half for each state. What country before ever existed a century and a half without a rebellion? And what country can preserve its liberties if their rulers were not warned from time to time of their people, preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms. The remedy is to set them right as to facts, pardon and pacify them. What signify a few lives lost in a century or two? The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. Our convention has been too much impressed with the insurrection of Massachusetts, and in the spur of the moment, they are setting up a kite to keep the hen yard in order. I hope in God this article will be reflected before the new Constitution is accepted. You ask me if anything transpires here on the subject of South America, of S America. Not a word. I know that there are combustible materials there, and that they wait their torch only. But this country probably will join the extinguishers. The want of facts worth communicating to you has occasioned me to give a little loose dissertation. We must be. It's hard for me to read these letters sometimes. We must be continued to amuse. Then we cannot inform. When we cannot inform. Present my respects to Mrs. Smith, and assured of the sincere esteem of dear sir, your friend and servant, Thomas Jefferson. All right. Hopefully you endured that reading, because I thought it was very interesting and telling. I love this letter. It's important that you understand that. Look, let them take up arms. Huh? Do you want me to read that again? Let them take them. Let them take arms. The remedy is to set them right as to facts, pardon and pacify them. What signify a few lives lost in a century or two? The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. The president doesn't know how to give this quote because he doesn't understand the quote. It is about the people to keep tyrants in check. When you understand and read the whole letter and what's in front and you got to have it in context, really. Let them take up arms. But the president doesn't know how to understand this. So there you go. Fact check, Mr. Prez. Fact check. Fake news.
And by the way, if they want to think to take on government, if we get out of line, which they're talking again about, well, guess what? They need F-15s. They don't need a rifle.
Tell that to
Folks,
the Taliban,
look, this
Joe.
is crazy what we're talking about.
Remember those guys you gave all that?
Because whether we're Democrats or Republicans, we want our families to be safe. We all want to drop them off at a house of worship, a mall,
knows he's got
a
this
movie theater, a school, without worrying it's the last time I'm going to get to see them.
I remember Third Rock from the Sun, the guy that sounds like this.
We all want our kids to have the freedom to learn how to read and write in schools instead of learn how to duck and cover, for God's sake. And above all, Above all, we all agree, we are not finished. Look,
Not the only ones, Joe.
no single,
Not the only
no
ones not
single
finished.
action can solve the entirety of the gun violence epidemic, but together, our efforts, your efforts, are saving lives. You can help rally a nation with a sense of urgency and seriousness of purpose. You're changing the culture. And we've proven we can do more than just thoughts and prayers. Just more than thoughts and prayers. You're changing politics. You're proving that you're
Freedom
powerful
is
and you're
greater than
relentless, and I
safety.
mean that. Let me close with this. I know many people here have been impacted by gun violence and are tired and
Me too,
frustrated.
Joe. Me too. But I'm not going to give up my freedoms. Sorry.
I know. I've been to too many. I've literally spoken with well over 1,000 families at these events that I've attended, mass shootings. And look in their eyes. You can almost feel that black hole they feel in the center of their chest, like they're being sucked in. There's no way out. If they have remaining children, you look at the children.
I know that feeling, Joe, but I don't use it
Mommy, Daddy.
to take away other people's rights.
And I know you may wonder, are we ever going to make full progress that we need to make? I'm here to tell you, we have no choice. We cannot give up trying. For all the lives lost and all those who are still there to save, we're going to get there. I have no illusions about how difficult it may be, but I also have no illusions about the people in this room. You're changing the attitude of the public. I really mean, I'm going back to why I got here in the first place. That is to say thank you. I can come up with all these ideas about the laws we can change to make it
You
easier.
can't come up with anything
You're changing people's lives.
but a dirty diaper.
You're convincing your neighbors and people this is necessary. It's beginning to move. Look what we've already done around the community. Look at the movement you've built, the elected officials standing with you. Look at all the mothers' organizations across the country.
Mr. President, you are making a change too. I love you so much and God
I don't hate the sad one, it was stupid.
Look, when there's a crisis, half what people affected by a crisis have to know is anybody listening? Do you hear me? Do they hear what we're saying? Listen to the young people who are speaking out. That's the power of the memory of your loved ones. That's the power of this
Young
movement.
people can't even decide what
That's
gender
the
they're
power of
gonna be.
America. We just have to keep going and keep the faith. Remember who we are. We are the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity when we act and do it together. So God bless you all, and may God protect your truth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep it up.
See how he fumbles it. I find it disturbing that the president says, and then they think they want to get out of line, and really? It's like we're children, like we need to be spanked and sent to our room. Oh, and then he says you need F-15s to fight. You heard me say something like, "Oh, tell that to the Taliban, Joe." We were getting our ass kicked by a bunch of farmers. How about Korea? A bunch of people in their own country with AKs. The point is, he just made it sound like that he's not scared to use military force against you and me. He'll say it's a rebellion. He'll say it's insurrection. The left, the anti-left, the extreme left, the socialists, those who hate liberty, are willing to fight for it, are willing to go to the extreme for it. The question is, are you? Now, I'm not calling arms. Absolutely am I not calling to arms and saying, grab your torch and pitchforks, like Shrek says, right? No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is only a tyrannical government will say that they will squash its people by military force if they get out of line. That should make you wonder who the real problem is. I'm not saying Trump is the greatest president that's ever been. In fact, I just lost a friend because I told him Trump is not the savior of the republic. I do not believe Trump is any kind of savior. There's only one savior, and it is not Donald Trump. It is not anybody in the Republican Party. It's definitely not anybody in the Democrat Party. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, you need to understand that this country was brought forth out of obscurity. I'm not going down the avenue of, I was stolen land. Shut up. Shut up. This country was particularly set aside for a reason. There is a reason why people flock to the United States and have for a very long time. It was set aside by God for the purpose of freedom. From way back when they left England and landed on Plymouth Rock to today, the purpose of this country was to be a place of refuge, not refuse, a place of freedom, not tyranny. And only haters of freedom will pollute the liberty, will pollute the blood of the men who fight and who die for you and for me. They will justify evil behavior to manipulate our freedoms away. The key to fighting tyranny is we, the people. A portion of that key, one of the little teeth on that key is education. Is you knowing the history of this country, of you understanding the plight of the founding fathers and everything they went through to get us here today. The answer is you and me. The founding fathers weren't perfect. We're not going to pretend that they were perfect. We all know that they were imperfect. There is no perfect human being living on the earth. We all make mistakes. But still, the key is unity. We do not live in a democracy. The country was never set up to be a democracy. It is set up and needs to be kept as a representative republic. Because the republic involves we, the people. I know Joe Biden just seems like a decrepit, senile old pants pooper. I get it. But that doesn't mean there's other people pulling the strings, manipulating the system, and causing problems. They're disruptors. That's what the extreme left, I'm not talking Democrats, I'm talking extreme left. Guess what, folks? There's extreme left in the Republican Party. There are people who represent us, willing to sell us down the river for a few bucks. Wake up. Wake up. I don't know what it's going to take for you guys to understand what's going on in this world. I have no idea what will be the catalyst. There are hard times coming. Really, really hard times. Get your house in order. Figure it out. You are high time. Like, it is almost too late. It's the 11th hour, okay? It is almost too late. Not yet. I refuse to think it is, but it's close. There are forces that hate freedom, that hate your independence. Why do you think the founding fathers are being erased? They absolutely are. You can't tell me that they're not. Their history is being erased. Find it. Learn it. Understand it. Understand their plight. I said that already, but you need to look and see what they fought for and why. History does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And friends, we're living in a very deep soliloquy right now. Anyways, I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Range Minded Podcast. As normal, if you want to get hold of me, you can reach me through all the socials. TikTok, I probably shouldn't have it. I know. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all Range Minded Podcast. Twitter, it's at Range Minded. You can reach out even on the website, rangemindedpodcast.com. If you're interested in buying some patches, I have 2 patches still available. They're actually running thin, so if you want to order, you better hurry. One's the official Range Minded patch, if you like morale patches anyways. And the other one is the Dangerous and Unusual Platypus patch, which has actually been kind of a hot item. So check them out. If you want one, you're just going to have to DM me. I don't have it set up for sale on the website. But if you look on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, you can see a little teaser video, and maybe I'll throw it up here at the end as well. You'll see it. Be safe. Get your houses in order. The storm's coming. Take somebody shooting. We need to propagate the future of this country, and that comes from sharing our freedoms with others. And that includes taking somebody shooting. I know it's expensive. It can be scary and frustrating. It's okay. Share your love for the Constitution. Share your freedoms with others. It's important. Be safe, you guys. Love you. Good night.